I just finished playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I think it would be fun to tell you what happened. Okay, before we jump into this video, I'm sitting here editing this thing, and I need your help. So I had a lot of fun recording this and making it, but I'm not sure if this is the type of thing that people are going to want to watch. Feels a little self-indulgent because this is a new D&D campaign that I have come up with, and it's just me explaining what happens in the campaign. So I really want to hear from you. Leave me a comment below if this is the type of video you'd like to see more of. We're going to play once a month, so potentially if enough people are commenting and letting me know that this is the type of video that you want to see, then we'll keep it going, and there should in theory be one of these pretty much every month. So yeah, check out the video, let me know what you think in the comments below, and if I get enough comments, I'll keep making these. Alright, thanks dudes. Alright, let's jump into the story of this new D&D campaign that I'm running. Okay, so to give a little backstory, this whole game is going to be set in the city of Port Vela. It's this town built around a harbor that was created from a magical meteor. I don't know which one is the right one. And people have come from all over to sort of build this new city up around the magic that is occurring in this harbor. There's no king or lords or any sort of ruling class. There are just 5 different guilds that each have influence over the goings-on in the city. And I'm not going to get too into the politics of everything because that's something the players are going to be discovering in their adventures through this city. So I'm playing with 3 of my good friends. They've all come up with crazy cool backstories, and I've done my best to include those into what's happening in the city. So my friend Brandon is playing Tobin. He is a Tabaxi ranger. He's like this Black Panther person who grew up in this group of thieves. I don't know, there's probably a better name than a group of thieves. This family of thieves, and he's now on the run trying to hide from that group. So he took this stone that's given him sort of almost like superpowers, like extraplanar powers, and he is on the run from this group, and he's come to Port Vela to sort of figure out what this stone is all about and also hide. Alright, my friend Alexis is playing Tosk, the dwarf druid. He wild shaped into a rat, stowed away on a ship, and ended up in Port Vela. Ever since, he's been trying to sort of figure out how to live in this city, and has ended up working for this elf tavern keep who runs a tavern called the Boar and the Babe. And Tosk has taken up the role as the boar, and wild shapes, turns into a boar, and acts as the mascot for this tavern. My friend Scott is playing Gimbal, the gnome wizard. He had this run-in with a demon from another dimension, and luckily was able to banish the demon, but only temporarily. So he has trained to become a wizard to learn more about how to vanquish this demon creature. So he's come to Port Vela to take a job as an apothecary. He works at this place called the Crafty Cauldron, and he's there to brew potions, but also find out more about how he can get rid of this demon creature. Okay, one more quick interruption here. If you are a dungeon master or someone who's looking to get into playing D&D, I really want to let you know that I have put together a giant pack of paper miniatures, all custom illustrated by me over like the past year. The pack is called Starter Minis. I'll put a link down in the description below. It's 50 unique miniatures, all of the monsters and NPCs that you would need to run the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which is the adventure included in the official D&D starter set. Yeah, I'm super proud of it, and I think it would be helpful to a lot of Dungeon Masters. Even if you're not running Lost Mine of Phandelver, it's a giant pack of goblins and skeletons and zombies and all kinds of different creatures that you could use for your game. So yeah, check it out. I'm super proud of it. And okay, back to the story. So these three young adventurers have come together. They've sort of met each other in the forest outside of Port Vela, and they all have found themselves at the Boar and the Babe Tavern because there is this world-renowned bard named Yara Shazilphilith who has come to perform at the tavern. And it's kind of unusual that such a high-status bard would come to this tavern, but they're not asking questions. They're excited to see this bard perform. So they all meet up. They have a nice seat in the second row. The tavern's packed. There's all kinds of people. There's a group sitting in the back that wear these navy cloaks. They're called the Hand. They're the city's thieves guild, but they also kind of act as the police in the city. Everybody's avoiding them. The group notices another druid standing in the back. They're kind of suspicious of her. And most importantly, a water genasi accompanied by a giant minotaur have come in, and a bunch of farmers that were excited to see the show and they were in the front row give up their seats to these two. So they sit down in the front row right next to our adventuring party. And then yeah, the show starts. This bard starts to tell this story of, it almost seems like a creation myth story of how the world was created. There's this dragon made of ether that destroys everything, but then a light comes and destroys the dragon and creates these different places of existence. And this bard is performing with illusions and thaumaturgy and turning the tavern into a celestial scene with this dragon and light and colors and fire. Before Yara can finish her story, these three cloaked figures sort of change forms, and there's these evil dog-like creatures that attack the water genasi lady and her minotaur friend. These creatures are sort of a variation on a barghest. I think it's a fiend creature. I sort of made them into like shape-changing shadow monsters instead of shape-changing fiends, and I kind of scaled back some of their abilities and stuff, but they're based on the barghest creature that's in Volo's guide. So these three creatures attack. The minotaur like easily defeats one, and then our group springs into action, and Tobin is able to take the other two out on his second turn. The minotaur looks over at him and acknowledges him as like, yeah, good work, dude. Thanks for the help. So just as the minotaur congratulates Tobin and they think they're in the clear from danger, his ears perk up and he looks over and moves to shield his water genasi friend and takes a crossbow bolt into the arm. And usually that would not faze such a large, powerful creature, but he's instantly crippled and falls to the ground, and they see a poison sort of spreading up his arm. So Gimbal goes to help the Minotaur while Tobin and Tosk turn to see where the crossbow bolt came from, and they see this little goblin dude who shot. He's upset that he missed his target and throws a little smoke bomb down and disappears into the crowd that is now fleeing because of these shadow dog beast creatures that have attacked in the middle of this crowded tavern. So Tobin and Tosk run outside to sort of follow this assassin goblin, and they can't find him anywhere. On a whim, Tobin just uses this ability that he has called Find Portal, and he discovers that next to the tavern entrance there's a portal that has kind of been sealed up and is no longer active, but he just kind of gets the last remnants of this portal that they assume that this goblin has fled through. They go back inside. The water genasi is trying to heal her minotaur friend, but it's not helping the poison, and so Gimbal is trying to figure out what the poison is. He rolls poorly, so he doesn't know what kind of poison it is or how to treat it, but he says that he can take them to the crafty cauldron, and his boss, Marigold Greenbottle, might be able to help. So they all rush off to the crafty cauldron, and they discover that Marigold has this small vial, 1 dose worth of a cure to this poison, and they discover that this is the second assassination attempt made by this goblin, and the first was a successful attempt that killed the leader of the Plexus, which is the sort of mercantile guild that controls all of the trade, all the shipping and carting, and a lot of the like trade good manufacturing in Port Vela. So their leader was killed by this goblin, and Marigold made this small dose just in case. She gives the dose to the Minotaur, which is enough to keep the poison from spreading, but not enough to cure him, because he's big. So she tells Gimbal and his friends to go find more of this moss, this lichen that she needs to help brew up more of the potion. At first she's sending them to the forest to find more moss, but then she remembers that there's this snake oil salesman that gathers a lot of his ingredients for his kind of crappy potions that he tries to peddle off onto the less fortunate. He collects his ingredients from those woods. So she suggests that they go see if this guy has any of the lichen. The water genasi woman gives them a pouch of gold and says, do whatever it takes, get this moss. We must find a cure. So the group, they go outside the city on the way to this sort of lighthouse temple for the Order of Valorum, which is another one of the big factions of the city. They're sort of the big religious faction. They are a group of clerics that worship the stars and the light, and outside of their temple is where a bunch of refugees who have all come to the city to find opportunity in the mines of the city, or working on the farms, or fishing in the harbor. They've all come, they've sort of built this tent city in between this temple and Port Vela. Group goes there and they find this dude. His name's Mortem Mendax. And he has this cart, Mortem Mendax's miracle medicines, and he's selling all kinds of crazy, really crappily made potions, stuff that will fend off hunger, stuff that will give people a boost of strength to help them be more productive in the mines. You know, he sells like a healing potion. You know, if you go to the Order of Valorum to get healed by the clerics, that would cost you 60 gold. He sells the potion for 10 gold, but it's a really poorly made potion, so somebody drinks it, they might get healed, or it might have no effect, or it might do something bad. So yeah, he's this snake oil salesman taking advantage of these refugees, but he does have some of this lichen. They're kind of these old, like shriveled up clumps of this lichen that they need, but they negotiate and they get a decent amount of it and rush it back to the crafty cauldron. Marigold Greenbottle starts to brew a bigger batch of this potion. The water genasi woman thanks them for helping her. They find out that this is Kwaime, the leader of the Bounty, which is the Fishers and Farmers Guild. She's not sure why this goblin has tried to assassinate her, but she's very concerned when the group tells her that this goblin used a portal to escape. That sort of started her gears turning. She wants the group to find out more about this goblin and tells them to bring her news as soon as they know anything else. Marigold says that the potion is going to take 24 hours to brew, and she will have it delivered to the Bounty's offices as soon as it's ready. Kwaime and the Minotaur, whose name is Borum, they leave the crafty cauldron, and as soon as the door shuts, the group hears a thunk and a thud outside the door. So they rush out and they see the goblin who is perched up on the rooftop across the street, has successfully crossbowed Kwame, and she has fallen to the ground. So Gimbal is able to remove the crossbow bolt. He came up with this crazy idea of holding on to the crossbow bolt and misty stepping away. And I sort of ruled that since she was not actively holding, I don't know, she wasn't actively holding the bolt, but he was able to basically teleport away and remove the arrow without doing any more damage. So I thought that was a cool use of an ability, so I totally agreed to have that work. So he got the bolt out, Marigold rushed out and is helping deal with this poison, and they all chase after this goblin who jumps down, and Tobin, because of his cat-like, his tabaxi reflexes, is able to catch up with this goblin, do a few good hits with his scimitars, and they're able to do enough damage to this thing that they realize, like, wait a second, this goblin dude, he's not a regular goblin, he's pretty powerful. And then all of a sudden the goblin teleports further down the street. They still give chase, and the goblin ducks down this alley and then disappears through this strange door. The group all run after him, cautiously approach this strange door that looks like it doesn't belong on the building that it's attached to. These black stone arches, obsidian black hinges and handle, and they slowly open the door to reveal this bright white. So they all enter. The door shuts behind them, and they're standing in this empty space. There's no walls, there's no ceiling. The floor doesn't make any sound when they step on it. It's just this white, pure white room, and they don't see the goblin anywhere. But what they do see is a little shadow that appears. The only reason they can see a horizon is because this shadow appears on it. And in the blink of an eye, this shadow washes over them, and they feel, it's like the coldness of death washes over them, and this kind of faceless, cloaked shadow comes up and says, "Welcome to the void." And that's where we left that session. So the players are trapped in this place called the void with this shadowy figure. The goblin assassin that they're chasing after is nowhere in sight, and now we wait a month to see what happens.